God, we have to imagine how this game has ended so very well. So that the last 5-10 seconds that happened right there, I loved that we got a chance to fight Sephiroth. I loved that we got a chance to do these things against him. What I'm very scared and what I'm very concerned about is the future. So this is the segment to where we're gonna leave it as the. So this is the segment to where we're gonna leave as the review to Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have enjoyed my 40-hour pursuit in this game. I've enjoyed it very much. It was very worth my time. For them to people have complained that this game shouldn't have been released in its fashion, and what I mean is I've seen people upset that they didn't release the full game from start to finish, and I can see why. When you buy a remake, it's supposed to be it's a when you title it remake. Initially, it's supposed to be like a new port, an update to the original game, and that's what they're doing. They're retelling the story, but the issue people have is that it's not the full 3 disc game compressed into a 1 disc. So if you wanted to play a 2020 version of the game, we just did. We played 5 hours worth of the main game from 97. And it's really cool to see that for those. It's funny because this does reflect to what I was told about in the original game. So in the original marketing for Final Fantasy VII, there was a lot of emphasis on just Midgard. And so this game, Brianna White played this too, yeah, Britt Barrett. But in the original game, 97 in 97, the game, from what I'm told, was advertised heavily on what happens in Midgard. But when you play the game after 5 hours, 6 hours, you were bait and switched because it showed so much. So you had a bigger world, a bigger game to experience during the 40 hours, the 50 hours that the game provided you back in 97. There's a lot more to be had in the game, and that's what people felt. It was like, whoa, surprise. There's an entire world that we're going to travel in. So in the next game, I believe we will be introduced to Yuffie, to Vincent, to Sid, to Cat Sith, to other characters. We're going to be introduced to the other cast members of the game, and it's really cool for what they did. They provided a scenario to where they gave us what they gave us in terms of timeline. So originally in the night when you played the game initially, you had the option to control people, to control characters, to control who you got to use. You got to control who you got to use. You got to control the people in your party. You got to control X, Y, and Z. This is different. Marcus, so does this not feel like a full game to you? So I can't hold a candle to it just yet, but for me, for what it provides me, it does feel like a full game experience, only because it in the same way to where other game trilogies, other movie trilogies were to happen, it sets us up for a future entitlement to where if you just played Final Fantasy VII Remake and you left it alone, it's its own condensed story. It's closed. If they never make a Final Fantasy VII, if they never make a Final Fantasy VII game ever again, that's fine. We're left with the ideas in fantasy that Cloud, the party of Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, and Red 13, we're left to the idea that those five compatriots, they went on a journey to fight and defeat Sephiroth, to do this, to have their own future plans. They have their own future plans to fight Sephiroth, and we're left to our imagination. But that's not the case. The reality is, for older fans, older fans that know the game from '97, they know that there's more content. They know there's so much more to the lore. Nibelheim, the ultimate weapons, Genova, revisiting the events of Crisis Core. It's really cool to where, for new fans of Final Fantasy, this is a great game to show them what it can be, what it could be, because now I can talk about it now. So I've been spoiled for a long time of how the game was, and so from A to B, this game has shown signs that Aerith has known more than she should have. That she has a cliff note to the entire timeline that everyone else is oblivious to, except Marlene possibly, and Red 13, and Sephiroth. The four characters that we know of right now are what? They're the individuals that know the original timeline from '97. And it's really cool to see how Marco and the other guy with the number 2 tattooed, they are a part of a bigger conspiracy. They're part of a conspiracy that's been set up by Hojo. And for what this game provides, it's really good. It's really cool. I'm just very happy for how the combat was. So for how the combat was, even though we didn't have, as I mentioned, we did not have control of who was in our party, because the thesis was back then, when you first played the game blind in '97, you didn't know that Aerith was going to die. So the entire game, you would have had Aerith on your team as a crucial member because she's the healer. And so that's how it was. And now we're in a situation where, for this level of production, there's more story to be had. I'm very happy that they did this from a storytelling standpoint. The game, the combat it's very fine and it's very good. Sure, it doesn't feel like a full game because we're comparing it to '97. We are always referencing '97 when the game was released. So this game, standalone, is not given a fair chance. If you were to tell me that they were going to play this, if they removed Remake, if they removed the game from '97, and if the entire world did not know about Final Fantasy before Final Fantasy Remake, this is a full game. They delivered a full 40-hour game experience, roughly the same amount of time the first game was in '97. But if you ignore the facts, if you are amnesiac to '97 and everything else, it's a full game. I would be very proud to buy the next installment and play it. I might just go buy the hard copy and just save it, just display it. It's a really good game. But it's really interesting to where they're playing off on the idea that there's a timeline that needs to be maintained. The Whispers are the fans. I believe the Whispers are a representation of the fans, to where they love the relationship of all of the characters. It felt to me like full game. It just happened to know the story is incomplete. I just happen to know the story is incomplete. Yes, for a lot of people who are on the side of like who are on the coin to where they've loved this game, it's a full. It feels like a full game, but for those who know it, it's not complete. There's still more to tell. There's always another story to tell. But Aerith, the entire time, she gave off that she knew more than she was supposed to. She knew the events in the church more than she was supposed to. And right now, as it comes up during the Don Corneo scene, there was three options that could have happened. We could have had Corneo pick Tifa, we could have had Corneo pick Aerith, and we could have had Corneo picked Cloud. But ultimately, this game forced us to watch Corneo pick Cloud. The game has forced us to watch the relationship of Aerith and Tifa to be more than just competitive acquaintances. They're building on their friendship. They never had this friendship in 97. And it's really good that they're adding extra bits, extra pieces to make you love the characters. I kind of wish I could erase the save data that's in my head. If I can just, like, I love this game so much to where, if I can delete the entire game, if I can delete the knowledge of this Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VII Remake out of my head, I would very much enjoy this game again, like before, and I would feel very fulfilled to where they're promising a game to be made again. They made Jessie best girl, and it shows in the end credits that she could be alive. We're shown that Biggs is alive. We're shown that Wedge could be dead, because I don't know what happened to Wedge when he was pushed off. The Whisperers, for some reason, I guess, wanted to kill off Wedge because he wasn't supposed to be there. So from what I'm aware of, it's almost like Wedge, Biggs, and Jesse, Biggs, and Wedge are playing a game of Final Destination, to where the Reaper of Death is owed lives. Sephiroth and the Whisper of Fate are owed lives. There's a lot of people that feel ripped off. So, in the original timeline, the Sector 7 plate was dropped, and more people were killed. But during this timeline, there was more people that was protected, more people were saved, and we see that Jesse and Biggs are alive. I think one of the chapter select screens says Jesse is dead, but refers to Biggs as seriously injured. Yes, we're assuming that Jesse could be alive because. So I know that the screen select screen says she could be dead, but based on that last scene, it shows that her headband and her gloves were on the table. There's a chance, because the glove and headband could either be Jesse's or it could be Biggs. It could be the gloves and headband are what the Avalanche characters in Sector 7 wear, but because they're on the table, it can be playfully assumed to be of the three. But we know that Biggs is now alive. We know that Wedge could be dead. We know that Jesse could likely be dead. And the entire and they emphasize Cloud's PTSD very early, in the way that we were never explored. It wasn't until later in the game that the game itself explored Cloud's PTSD with Crisis Core, with everything before Final Fantasy VII. But the characters in the game themselves are not aware. So Cloud is very reserved, and he's not explaining. Cloud doesn't explain why he has those sudden brain blasts, the sudden um, flashbacks. We don't see it, but there's a chance that Cloud is, because the timeline is now different. This is going to affect Cloud a lot because between the events of Crisis Core and Final Fantasy VII, we're supposed to be aware that Cloud was on his own up until 7 because at the end of Crisis Core, Zack was supposed to die. Zack was supposed to give away his sword to Cloud and have him be his living legacy. But it's now changed. Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, Barrett, Fate, Red 13, they all fought Destiny to change their destiny, and this is the product. So I don't know if they're going to touch on what's real to Cloud's memory, but I'm really excited to see where the direction goes. I'm so very in love with everything, with all the characters too, so for it to be such an active combat, it's very nice to see the idea that they're expanding a lot on what can be. I really enjoy the fighting style because it feels like they tested this type of combat with they try to test this combat system with Final Fantasy 15, and they've been working on it since Final Fantasy 13. So now that we see it in 7, it's the perfect alliteration of that combat. And we know that the next Final Fantasy 7, which could be Final Fantasy 7 Reunion, Final Fantasy 7 Revelations, Final Fantasy 7 Resolutions, they can play off the R name, but I'm thinking Resolution, then Reunion as the working titles, which plays off of their lore. So I'm very excited to see what they do from here. I'm very excited. I'm very hyped up to what they plan to do. And I will be in line. But how do you say it? But I have finally finished Final Fantasy VII. I'm very happy for what's happened. If I was requested to play hard mode, it would be a respectable no. It was really hard the first time. I felt it was funny because I felt the Rufus Shinra boss was a lot harder than Sephiroth. But granted, it was a solo fight versus a team fight, so it's hard to compare. But if I were to continue, if I would have continued to fight Sephiroth alone during the next extra bits, because I fought Sephiroth alone a few times, and then Aerith came in, and then Barrett came in, which was nice. I wish Tifa was a part of my last team just because I do enjoy she was in the front line with me. So 2 in the front, 1 in the back. I like that tactic. But if I played him alone the entire time, I would have lost. But I definitely survived better, which is really nice. But I'm very happy to close the book for now, because I do know that I completed all the side quests. From what I'm aware of, I already completed all the side quests, and I just wish something was shown for it. For example, by being able to finish all the side quests up until a certain point with Madam M, I think there's a scenario to where if I didn't do a lot of side questing, I would have gotten very different missions in order to kill my time while getting... Actually, no. The amount of side quests that I've done fueled the dress that Aerith got to wear during the Corneo event. Otherwise, if I didn't do enough side quests, she would have got a basic summer dress. She would have gotten a dress that was basic and unflattering. So yeah, but like when completing all the side quests from chapter 14, chapter 13, before climbing the tower and before going to the Shinra building, I wish there was more of a payoff. But it's fine. I enjoyed learning about the world as I played those side quests. It was very tasty. But I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna rest a little bit and then go from there.